This is our news, the weekend edition, and on the broadcast tonight, a leading physician on Grand Bahama talks about the pandemic burnout among healthcare professionals. Plus, the health minister makes an appeal to families of boarders at PMH. And later on, we tell you about the launch of a Women and Girls Coalition.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. With hundreds in quarantine and dozens flooding the healthcare system daily, head of Grand Bahama's COVID-19 task force, Dr. Frank Bartlett, said healthcare workers are burnt out. Our Jillian Gray has the report.
Healthcare workers in New Providence and Grand Bahama walked off the job earlier this week, citing safety concerns during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Frank Bartlett said all essential workers, not just healthcare professionals, are exhausted.
We're burnt out, we're tired, but you still have to move forward every single day. Our task force, our first meeting was January 29th. You can probably count the amount of days we've had off on one hand. Okay, that's how much we've had off. So when you mix that, trying to deal with our community, trying to make sure, as the minister alluded to, that nobody has a negative impact because of it, trying to balance your family, trying to do all the other things that you have responsibilities for on a daily basis, it's quite easy to see why people would say that they are exhausted.
Over 900 Grand Bahama residents are in quarantine and 310 are in isolation. Dr. Bartlett, who heads Grand Bahama's COVID-19 task force, said 5 COVID-19 positive cases were hospitalized on that island. He added that they are experiencing several challenges as well.
Human resource challenges, manning multiple sites is an issue. And patients in the second wave, unlike what we would have seen in our first wave of COVID-19 in the population here in Grand Bahama, they are staying and being hospitalized for longer periods of time, and they tend to be much sicker.
Dr. Bartlett made the revelation at a press conference announcing that the island, which has seen over 300 confirmed cases, will be on lockdown for an additional 12 days. He lamented the fact that some are still not in compliance with the public health and social distancing measures, adding that people frequently come in for treatment. As beds are filled, Bartlett said if things get worse, they will not be able to handle the situation.
Challenges with the response to increased hospitalizations are impacted by hospitalizations of COVID suspects, which are surpassing the numbers of patients that we have that are non-COVID. ICU bed capacity for the past 2 months has been at 100% or quite near 100%. This becomes important because if we do have a COVID-19 person that needs critical intervention, we will not have the capacity to deal with that person.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
Health Minister Renwood Wells says more than 30 boarders at PMH need to be collected by their families. This as the country struggles to deal with the second wave of the coronavirus.
While improving health infrastructure to accommodate this and potentially other waves is our chief objective, ensuring the most efficient use of beds is also critical. Currently, we have 33 boarders in the Princess Margaret Hospital. Boarders are people who have been discharged, some for years, but nobody has come to take them home.
Back in 2019, it was revealed that boarders cost PMH $18,000 per day to house. With the pandemic placing a massive strain on the country's healthcare infrastructure, Wells is urging family members to come forward.
A few boarders may have no family, but the vast majority of these individuals do have family members. I therefore make an impassionate appeal to family members of these boarders. You know who you are. It cannot be right for all ill patients to lose their lives because they cannot access proper facilities at a hospital. Our health professionals are hard-pressed to find places to care for very ill people. We need those beds.
With dozens of nurses in quarantine after being exposed to COVID-19 in recent weeks, Bahamas Nurses Union President Amantia Williams says the issue is only contributing to the shortage of nurses.
We're trying to work with you, but you're not trying to work with us. Staff is being compromised.
According to Williams, 6 nurses in Grand Bahama have tested positive for COVID-19 and 16 are in quarantine, placing that island's healthcare system in a jam. She says nurses from New Providence have been flown in to replace those Grand Bahama nurses who are now out of the system. Williams says no report was given on the impact of COVID-19 on nurses in New Providence.
You have the Department of Public Health nurses. They're doing their best. They leave Nassau, they went to Freeport to help out. All around, the nurses are trying to combat this.
The Bahamas is not the only Caribbean country that has seen a tremendous increase in COVID-19 cases. That, according to Pan American Health Organization Director Dr. Carissa Etienne.
Nearly every country in Mesoamerica is witnessing spikes in COVID-19 cases, with many countries grappling to manage the spikes. Across the Caribbean, countries have managed to control their initial outbreaks, but most have recorded new cases and must remain vigilant as they reopen their borders and face tropical storms.
Etienne warned Caribbean countries not to fold under the pressure to reopen amid escalating COVID cases.
Many countries are reporting record numbers of new infections, a clear sign that the virus is still rapidly spreading. Yet, there is mounting pressure to open economies and schools and continue life as usual. COVID-19 will not go away anytime soon. This pandemic is a reality that we need to adjust to by continuing to actively implement measures to control the virus, and by using data about the virus spread and the state of our health systems to calibrate our actions.
As doctors and nurses walk off the job here in the Bahamas, Etienne said healthcare systems around the Caribbean are in jeopardy.
Our clinics and hospitals are still struggling to stock their shelves with the medicines and personal protective equipment that they need, as the pandemic has strained global supply chains and slowed global trade. Today, we are at risk of history repeating itself. Within every country in our region, health workers are being redirected to care for the influx of COVID-19 patients. Many of them have gotten sick themselves as they tend to those in need.
Meantime, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis will update the nation on its COVID-19 progress during a national address tomorrow. The address will be carried live right here on RTV channel 212 at 5 p.m. Well, President of the Bahamas Public Service Union, Kimsley Ferguson, says the union has serious concerns about the second wave of the coronavirus and its impact on the public service. Ferguson insisted many public servants are terrified. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Bahamas Public Service Union president did not hold back as he insisted public servants are concerned for their safety given the surge in COVID-19 cases. He says employees from various government agencies have expressed those concerns. Ferguson says the situation across the public service sector is quickly reaching a tipping point.
There's an eruption of a number of concerns. That's why it appears as if there's going to be some volcanic activity because we've been agitating amidst a number of things.
Ferguson added that he has also received reports that COVID-19 safety protocols are not being strictly adhered to at every government agency.
We're finding in various ministries that persons are not adhering to the COVID-19 protocols. And so what is happening is we have a full staff when there should be a rotation. And so we are very concerned. I understand the Prime Minister would have given authority to the various permanent secretaries to deal with scheduling persons, but we are not certain that these individuals are actually doing a very good job because persons are frightened. They're scared out of their wits, and rightly so, because they have families that they have to go home to.
Ferguson also insisted there is a lack of communication from government officials. He says the union just wants to ensure the safety of its members. He added that the union will not be happy until their concerns are addressed.
I'm going to be confident when we are able to get to the table and have a discussion as to how our membership is going to be protected. And we've been agitating for that from before COVID-19 hit.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And still ahead tonight, how the pandemic affects court cases. Plus, the taxi cab union slams the emergency orders. Those stories and more coming up when our news, the Weekend Edition, returns.
Rev up on the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Next tonight, Chief Justice Brian Morey says the coronavirus pandemic has impacted the backlog of court cases. However, he pointed out the backlog has existed for years and listed the number of issues being faced in the court system.
We have many challenges. We have very limited financial resources. Our technology platform is in serious need of upgrading. We are understaffed seriously in the judiciary. Our physical court buildings are in some cases in very poor condition. And we have challenges that we are facing. And so I acknowledge that. I think around the world, judiciaries and court systems have these perennial problems. We do have backlogs.
Morey also explained that in criminal matters, cases lag for a number of reasons, including it can sometimes take months or even years to obtain evidence.
At the moment, it's taking us anywhere from 9 to 18 months to get a pathologist report.
Oh my God.
It can take sometimes 12 months to get a report on a ballistics report out of the lab.
Bahamas Taxi Cab Union President Wesley Ferguson is slamming the administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Ferguson, there needs to be more consultation before new emergency orders are rolled out. Here's Berthany McDormand.
Think before you send these emergency orders out, because it's making us look like idiots.
Bahamas Taxi Cab Union President Wesley Ferguson is lashing out at government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, charging that the COVID-19 emergency powers orders seem to be changing by the minute. Ferguson added that he believes these orders are not properly thought out. His comments come days after an emergency powers order was released preventing bus drivers from operating.
When you go to bed one night and you wake up the next day, it's a whole new set of orders that you are definitely unaware of.
In light of the drop in visitor arrivals, Ferguson said drivers hope to serve the domestic market. However, he said the new order is making it increasingly difficult.
The domestic market that we were moving aggressively trying to target that market, but because of the uncertainties and because of the radical changes in the emergency orders, it's hopeless to us even putting this into effect.
Ferguson is calling on government to consult with them before enforcing laws that impact their livelihood. This plea comes after repeated calls from the Bahamas Unified Bus Drivers Union, the Consultant Physician Staff Association, the Bahamas Nurses Union, and the Bahamas Doctors Union.
Letting people ahead of time think these emergency orders out carefully, have some good consultation, look at what the ramifications could be, what the downfalls are, and actually can consult with these people who are directly affected by these emergency orders, people like the unions who knows the ins and outs, instead of just creating emergency orders off the top of your head.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
When Our News, the Weekend Edition, comes back from the break, young women learn new skills, so stay tuned.
Rev up on the next promotion? Okay. Nice. Nice.
Bye. Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Welcome back to our news, the weekend edition. While many are out of work, 36 women now have a new skill to keep them busy and to assist them financially during these difficult times. Our Giorgio Bain explains.
A processing course hosted by the Ministry of Agriculture and Patricia Minnis, wife of the Prime Minister, helped women and girls to learn the process of making jams, jellies, and even chutney and yogurt. According to Minnis, it's her hope that those in attendance will take the lessons learned and use them to benefit financially. Minnis, a former food chemist at the Ministry of Agriculture, said she wants to bring back the cottage industry. The Women and Girls Coalition had a total of 36 participants that Minnis said will undoubtedly make the country proud.
I want to expose the women who has mentees and some of the young girls in various areas that they can work to increase the income for their families. And so Mr. Daly, here with the Food Technology Unit, part of the Department of Agriculture, partnered with us to put on these 4-day seminar. 2 of the groups yesterday and today, and another group will come in tomorrow and Friday.
The participants were hard at work at their stations. Our news spoke with Wendy Moss over at the Jam and Jelly station, where she told us all about her experience and plans for after the classroom.
My experience has been great. We've learned a lot. We've not only learned how to make and prepare the jams and the sauces, we've learned the science of every ingredient that we've put in there. We've learned about good bacteria, bad bacteria, how to storage our product, our food product, once we're done, so they cannot spoil quickly. So the experience here has been awesome.
Over at the pickling station, Helen, who is a part of the Queen's Club that mentors young girls, said she's planning on taking her lessons that she learned in the classroom back to the members of her club to incorporate into their program.
The purpose of this pickle is to save the fruit, to save the vegetable, because you will have this in abundance. If you've grown too many, and you will be able to use this as a seasoning to your meats, or you can use it as an accompaniment to your food, to your salads, to any meal that you're preparing.
Minnis said the short program was such a success that she will be rolling out another program sometime in August.
The next initiative that I will do in August is the backyard gardening. Again, we will encourage these women to grow their peppers now, and then you can process these peppers that you grow. By doing that, you will have added value to the peppers, which make the product much more profitable to you if you're growing your peppers and processing them. So these are the ideas which the coalition will continue to do to increase the income for women in our society.
Reporting for our News Weekend Edition, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Still to come, how the cancelled Junkanoo parades will hurt those who make a living getting groups ready for Bay. So stay with us.
Rev up on the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bye. Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Following the decision to cancel the Junkanoo parades this season, one avid Junkanooer is expressing concern over those who make a living off of Junkanoo, building, pasting, and decorating costumes and selling costume decorations. Saxon's Public Relations Director Kendinique Campbell-Moss says she feels for those people as that is money that won't have coming in.
Well, you have some persons, maybe about 30% of each Junkanoo community, that their livelihood is completely derived from Junkanoo, whether it be selling of beads, whether it be selling of skins for the Junkanoo drums, whether it be painting, whether it be tricking, um, making sure the cardboard is white, lining out. It's a medley of things that happen. You may have a contracted paster, you may have a contracted builder, you may have a musician, you may have a choreographed dancer that has to be paid to teach them or instruct a particular routine. And as a result of that, that can result in like 30% of our Junkanoo community that has their specific livelihood that is derived exclusively from Junkanoo. So you must imagine that that has put a damper in some person's pocketbooks, because if they're only and their sole livelihood is Junkanoo, what would they have at this particular moment?
In a joint statement, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, along with the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence, said due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is in the best interest of Junkanoo participants and supporters that this year's parades be called off. Campbell Moss says Junkanooers would have even loved to see a unity rush, but she doubts that's possible.
I think that is completely off of the table, and we are guided by our chairman, Mr. Toby Austin. We're also guided by the JCNP chairman, Mr. Dion Miller. And so that would not be prudent, especially with the situation of the pandemic. Mind you, we'll be ready to rush tonight if that could actually happen, but that is not what is going to happen. And as a result of that, Chairman Miller has asked all of the Junkanoo communities to probably think of virtual. So if it's a virtual that they're thinking of and it's virtual that they want to have, then that is something that, you know, the groups will probably participate in. But I want you to keep in mind that that is still not the true essence of Junkanoo.
As for what she feels is true essence of Junkanoo really is, Campbell Moss said this.
When you think of Junkanoo and you get to George Street and you see the lights and the camera and the action and you see your loved ones or your rivals and you say, man, this is you come to Bay Street, what y'all bringing this morning? Like it's excitement. And when you hear that tum-tum drum roll over, you hear the fanfare, that is Junkanoo. Junkanoo is more than just, oh, I go into Junkanoo. It's the essence, it's the spirit, it's the love. And it's that what I think what has dampened the spirit of us for the Christmas season. Of course, we love to be with our families, but a huge part of the indoctrination of Christmas is Junkanoo, and there's no way that you can maneuver around that.
Well, that's a look at stories making news this evening, but stay tuned. Our weekend weather forecast is coming right up. And that does it for us on a Saturday night. I'm Andrew Knowles. For all of us here at R News, thanks so much for watching. Let's remember to be safe and look out for each other. Have a great night.